Let's talk about something we rarely measure, yet we spend every single day: our energy. Not time, not money, energy. It's the invisible currency we use to show up, speak up, work, react, explain, defend, worry, and wonder. Every text you overthink, every argument you entertain, every mental loop you run about something outside your control, that's all energy being spent. And here's the kicker: you don't get refunds. And that's it. And you just said it. I mean, it's like when you focus on yourself, you're not being selfish, you're being strategic. You're learning how to invest that currency wisely, where it actually compounds in your own growth, your peace of mind, your purpose. Because too often, we give away our power piece by piece, by reacting to opinions, by chasing people who don't value us, by explaining ourselves to those who've already made up their minds. That's energy you'll never get back. We live in a world that constantly pushes us to look outward. Social media, peer pressure, comparison culture. It all feeds this habit of external validation. We think, what will they think if I say this? Or why hasn't this person acknowledged me yet? Or how do I prove I'm enough? But here's the truth. If your sense of worth depends on their response, then your power belongs to them, and they don't always deserve it. Focusing on yourself means pulling your attention inward where it belongs. It means asking better questions. Instead of, why are they treating me this way? You start asking, why am I allowing this in my space? Instead of, why don't they see my value? You ask, have I been showing up for myself the way I expect others to? That's where real change begins, not in controlling the external, but in mastering the internal. Now, let's get psychological for a moment. The human brain has a default mode network. It kicks in when we're not focused on the task at hand. That's when the mind starts wandering, reflecting, ruminating. And when we're not intentional, it defaults toward other people, what they said, what they did, what they might be thinking. And that loop, it's addictive, because our brain craves resolution. It wants answers. But in chasing those answers, we trade away the present moment, and with it, our clarity, our peace, and our focus. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That's ancient wisdom, still undefeated. Because energy doesn't just get lost through dramatic events. It leaks quietly, through overreactions, over-explanations, through our inability to let things go. Someone cuts you off in traffic and you're still fuming 10 miles later. A friend doesn't reply and your whole day shifts. It's these micro drains that cost us the macro results. You can't build a focused life with a distracted mind. Think of your energy like water. You only have so much in your cup each day. Some people and situations fill that cup. Those are your passions, your practices, your purpose. Others poke holes in it. Those are your distractions, your toxic connections, your unresolved wounds. When you focus on yourself, you learn where the leaks are. And more importantly, you learn to stop handing people straws to drink from your cup without permission. Now let me be clear. This isn't about shutting down or becoming emotionally unavailable. It's about becoming selectively accessible. Not everyone should have access to the deepest parts of you. Your time, your attention, your peace. They're privileges, not obligations. And when you start treating them that way, something powerful happens. Your life becomes quieter, but richer. Simpler, but more meaningful. Because you've stopped trying to be everything to everyone and started being everything to yourself. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean you don't care about others. It means you care about yourself enough to stop abandoning your own needs. It means you stop outsourcing your emotional security. You stop waiting for closure, for apologies, for someone to finally understand. You give yourself what others failed to give you. That's self-respect. That's maturity. That's power. And yes, at first people might not understand. They'll call you distant, selfish, maybe even arrogant. That's because they were used to the version of you who overgave, overextended, overexplained. But let them talk. Let them misinterpret, because silence is your new language. And your growth, that's the loudest response you can give. So here's the shift I want you to hold on to. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every battle is yours to fight. Not every noise is yours to answer. The more you focus inward, the clearer you see what's worth your investment and what's not even worth a thought. In a world that's always pulling your attention outward, the real flex is learning how to bring it home. Let's be honest, we live in an era where everyone wants to be heard. Everyone wants to explain, defend, argue, post, prove. There's a pressure to always have a response, to speak your piece, to set the record straight. But sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do, the strongest move you can make, is to say nothing at all. Because silence is a skill. And it's not passive, it's intentional. When you focus on yourself, you start to realize that not every situation deserves your voice. Not every disagreement deserves your explanation. Not every challenge needs a reaction. Silence doesn't mean surrender. It doesn't mean weakness. It means restraint. And restraint is the hallmark of emotional maturity. See, when we're constantly reacting to everything and everyone, what we're really doing is handing over control. We're giving people emotional access they haven't earned. Think about it. Someone says something disrespectful, and you immediately feel the need to defend yourself. Why? Why do they have that kind of power over your peace? When you stay silent, you shift the dynamic. You're no longer playing their game. You're not stepping into the chaos they're trying to pull you into. Instead, you're centered. You're choosing your response, not being driven by your reaction. That's what it means to focus inward. That's what it means to reclaim control. And let's talk psychology for a second. The amygdala, the brain's threat detection center, is quick to fire when it feels provoked. That's the part of you that wants to react right away, to clap back, to respond emotionally. But your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for higher reasoning and judgment, takes longer to kick in. Silence is that space between stimulus and response. It's that pause where you reclaim your ability to think, to choose, to lead yourself wisely. It's in that pause that strength is built. Philosophically speaking, silence is a mirror. When you stop speaking, you start seeing. You begin to observe how people move, what they reveal, without even realizing it. When you're quiet, you're not distracted by your own words. You're tuned in. You're no longer trying to control how you're perceived. You're paying attention to how the world really works. And that awareness, that clarity, it's a gift most people never receive because they're too busy trying to be loud. Now, let me be clear. Silence isn't about shutting down or avoiding hard conversations. It's about elevating your communication. It's about choosing when your voice adds value and when it only adds noise, because sometimes your silence is louder than any words you could say. It speaks of discernment, of inner calm, of self-respect. And that kind of silence, it disrupts everything. People expect you to react. They expect you to fight back. When you don't, it confuses them. It exposes their own noise. And most importantly, it shows them that you've outgrown the need to be understood by everyone. Focusing on yourself means you're not trying to win arguments anymore. You're trying to win your peace. You're not trying to be right in their eyes. You're trying to be aligned with yourself. There's a big difference. And once you feel the freedom of not explaining yourself every time someone misunderstands you, you'll never go back. Because silence says, I know who I am, and I don't need you to validate it. And let's go deeper. Silence is not just the absence of noise, it's the presence of power. When you stop broadcasting every move, every opinion, every next step, you create mystery. You create space. And in that space, growth happens. Real, deep, quiet growth. The kind that doesn't need to be posted, shared, or praised. You see, too often we confuse visibility with progress. Just because something is loud doesn't mean it's strong. And just because something is silent doesn't mean it's weak. Some of the most transformative moments in your life will happen in silence, when no one is watching, when no one is clapping, when you're just sitting with yourself doing the work. When you focus on yourself, you realize that you don't owe anyone access to your mind just because they demand a response. You learn to value your inner world more than their outside noise. You become selective, intentional, grounded. And yes, silence can be uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent years feeling the need to speak up for yourself at every turn. But the discomfort fades. What replaces it is clarity, confidence, and peace. Deep, lasting peace that doesn't shake every time someone throws shade your way. Eventually, you stop needing to be heard and you start listening to your intuition, to your values, to the things that actually matter. And that shift, that's the beginning of real self-mastery. So the next time someone tries to pull you into an argument, remember, you don't have to attend every fight you're invited to. The next time someone misjudges you, remember, your worth isn't up for debate. And the next time your silence feels uncomfortable, remember, you're not avoiding something, you're elevating above it. Let's talk about control. Not the kind you exert over other people or outcomes, but the kind that starts with you. The kind that comes from mastering your emotions, your attention, your habits. Because here's the truth. When you master yourself, you master everything. The illusion most people live under is that peace comes from the outside. If they can just get others to behave, if the world cooperates, if everything goes according to plan, then they'll be calm. But life doesn't work that way. The world won't bend to your preferences. People won't always act right. So if your sense of balance is tied to everything around you going smoothly, you're always going to be on edge. That's why self-mastery is so powerful. Because when you focus on yourself, your reactions, your discipline, your emotional boundaries, you stop trying to control what's uncontrollable. You stop playing the losing game of fixing everyone else, and instead you start winning internally. See, most people don't realize that the real battlefield isn't out there. It's inside. It's in your thoughts. It's in how quickly you get triggered. It's in how much of your day is spent reacting instead of deciding. The moment you become aware of how much of your life is dictated by autopilot behavior, impulses, habits, assumptions, that's when the door opens. That's when you begin the work of mastery. And it is work. It's not easy to pause when your emotions want to rush ahead. It's not easy to choose patience over pride or focus over distraction, but that's the exact moment where strength is forged, in the choice, not the reaction. You become powerful not because you dominate others, but because you don't allow others to dominate you. Your peace, your priorities, your presence. Psychologically, this is about shifting from external locus of control to internal. When you operate with an external locus, you believe life is happening to you. You blame, you wait, you stay stuck. But when you take full ownership, when you say no matter what happens out there, I choose how I respond, you reclaim your power. And from that moment, you're no longer at the mercy of chaos. Now think about that word, responsibility. Break it down. It literally means the ability to respond. That's what self-mastery gives you. The ability to pause, to assess, to act from clarity, not chaos. That doesn't mean you won't feel things. It doesn't mean you become robotic. It means you become centered. You feel, but you're not ruled by what you feel. You observe, but you're not consumed by what you see. And this doesn't just apply to conflict. It shows up in the quiet moments. The discipline to wake up early when no one's watching. The restraint to stay off your phone when you need focus. The humility to admit when you're wrong. The strength to walk away when something no longer aligns with your values. That's self-mastery. It's less about how loud you are in public and more about how honest you are in private. Philosophers like Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That's not just ancient wisdom, it's a blueprint, because the moment you accept that your mind is the only real thing you control, the game changes. You're no longer chasing control, you are control. And let's be real, this isn't about being perfect, it's about being aware. Self-mastery is a practice, not a finish line. There will be days when you slip, when you react, when you get caught up in the noise. But the difference is, now you see it. Now you know what's happening. And that awareness gives you the chance to redirect. When you focus on yourself, you also start realizing how much of life is noise. People projecting their pain, systems designed to distract, conversations that go nowhere. And in the middle of all that, you learn to anchor yourself, not in opinions or outcomes, but in values, in discipline, in clarity. Because here's the truth. People don't disrupt your peace. You allow them to. Distractions don't steal your focus. You hand it to them. Drama doesn't find you. You entertain it. When you master yourself, those patterns get exposed. And once you see them, you can stop feeding them. This kind of focus creates freedom. The freedom to think clearly, to move deliberately, to not get pulled into every storm. That's the quiet strength of someone who's done the inner work. They're not loud, but they're powerful. Not flashy, but deeply grounded. Because their power doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from mastering themselves. And that kind of strength, it doesn't just change how you live, it changes how others experience you. People start respecting your boundaries. They mirror your calm. They respond to your presence. Because you're no longer reacting, you're leading. So if you take nothing else from this, take this. Stop trying to control everything outside you. Start mastering everything within you. Focus your energy where it actually matters. On your mind, your habits, your values. That's how real transformation begins.